Fitness is about all your habits, what you do every day. And those habits are not yours if you try to do it alone. Those habits have to trickle down what is happening in your house. If I decide to eat something healthy and if my family is not supporting me and not duplicating the same thing, then it is no point. I will not be able to sustain it. I will not be able to take it on a long-term basis. If I want to sleep early because I am tired, my body is fatigued out, if there's a family get together, I'm not able to sustain it. So what we are talking about over here in terms of fitness is that it has to change in terms of your habit. It has to change in your daily routine. You cannot just come train with me for an hour and for the rest 23 hours, you're abusing your body, you're abusing your time.
Welcome to the Find Your Ultra podcast. I'm your host, Vipin Sharma. My guest today is Jatin Arora, who is an extremely inspiring individual. Jatin left his corporate life to pursue his calling, which was to build a life around fitness and outdoors. Jatin is himself an endurance athlete. He swims long distances, he rides and runs as well. But his preferred sport, I believe, is distance swimming. Jatin is himself an amateur athlete as well as a coach. He's an Ironman certified triathlon coach. He is also a certified personal trainer from the American Council of Exercise, Crossfit Level 2 trainer. He's also a CrossFit Kids trainer, a Reebok master trainer, a Rehab trainer. He clearly loves studying, right? He clearly hasn't had enough of it in school. So Jatin is still learning and growing his skills. Now, to provide his skills and learnings and expression and to share his knowledge with people, Jatin has helped build a couple of outstanding communities. Jatin founded BCY, the Bootcamp Yellow community, which is an outdoor fitness community, and one called Tri Club Gurgaon, which is essentially a community of triathletes. He is himself a 4-time Ironman 70.3 finisher, which is a half Iron distance, and he's got one lined up next month, as we just heard before we started rolling. Now, what started as a personal pursuit has now become a lot bigger than himself. It is now a community of folks who are inspired to head outdoors every day, working on becoming their best version. I cannot wait to learn more about how he's done all of this, what drives him, and what specific advice he has for people starting out and established runners as well as triathletes who are looking to up their game. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Jatin sir, welcome to the Find Your Ultra podcast.
Thank you, Vipin. Thank you very much for having me over. I'm very happy and excited to have this conversation with you.
I am so glad we are doing this. I mean, I'm so glad, first of all, you agreed to do this. You didn't think twice. You were just, "Theek hai, fitness ke baare mein, let's do it." So I'm glad we are here and we are doing this.
Thank you.
So thank you for making time.
Cheers.
And thank you for bearing with us while we were fixing the equipment and everything. We had a lot of goof ups today, but we are starting out. We'll get there. So to begin with, let's begin right at the beginning. Like, I have so many questions for you. The BCY community I've been following for a very long time. I know a lot of athletes there. I've been following their personal journeys. So we'll get into the communities later. But let's first talk about your own journey. You started out as a corporate guy. So let's go even further back. What was your childhood like? But did you schooling? Were you always an outdoors person? Were you always into fitness? What was your pre-working life like?
See, I mean, if I go all the way back to my school and my college days, I think sports and fitness was a very essential part of our growing up years. I come from a Christian boys' school where outdoor sports, swimming specifically, and then of course cricket was a very essential part of our daily routine. At the age of 4, when I started school, we were thrown in the pool and we were asked to swim, and that's where my swimming journey started. But that was just a small part as growing years. Yeah. But I come from a very active family. My elder brother was a lot into sports, into fitness, and that's how the whole journey started. And as we grew up with if you don't have time, the only thing which you do is play a game or play a sport. I think when we were growing up in the 80s and the 90s, of course, we didn't have anything internet or too much of television. So I think a lot of time was spent outdoors. and that's how it's a part of my DNA, and that's we grew up. Of course, in school, I played cricket at a very senior level. I almost qualified to play for the state, Ranji for railways. But of course, with studies being at the forefront, did not take that route. But yes, I kept on, sports as a very important part of my life. When we moved to corporate, when I started working for a couple of corporate companies, being a cricketer, and cricket was a very important part of a lot of corporate companies. So I was always a part of it. And fortunately, I worked for a pretty big cash and carry store, which was about sports. And that's where, I reignited my whole running and my sports culture back. So yeah, sports have been and fitness have been a part of my DNA right from my childhood days.
Yeah. So I didn't know the love for cricket runs so deep. You were watching cricket on your phone just before we started rolling.
Absolutely. Now with so much happening in terms of fitness, cricket is something I don't play so much. Sunday mornings are either you can cycle, you can run, or you can play. There are a few options you have to make. But yeah, I still follow watching it, of course, as much as I can.
That's the thing about endurance sports. It does not leave much time for anything else.
Absolutely. I think that goes, where you need to convince a lot of things at home. Yeah. You need to make sure that before your family wakes up, you're back home. So yeah, it's a tough call, but yeah, once you love it, it's your passion, you don't think twice about it.
Yeah. So where this gets really inspiring is, and of course, everybody who quits their regular daytime job to pursue their calling is an inspiring individual in a lot of ways. What was the impulse to quit your job? And how did you talk us through that whole journey of you quitting the job? How were the initial few years? And how difficult was the decision for you to take that call?
The decision, to be honest, was driven totally by my family. Mm-hmm. I was in Bangalore. I was working for a cash and carry sports company over there. And my family, my wife and my two kids, my wife's work had to bring her back to Gurgaon. That's where I belong. So she had to come back, and I did not have the guts to stay without my family, with my two boys. So it was an impulsive decision. I quit. I came back, didn't have a job. And, with the retail work which I was into, and retail is a very, very taxing industry to be in. I was managing a cash and carry store where the day would start at 6 and it was a never ending day. It was all 7 days a week you were working. So it really drained out a lot out of me. So when I came back, I realized that maybe, working 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 rather was not something which I was inspiring to do. That is where, I came back to Gurgaon, and there was a CrossFit was very new in that time in our country. I'm talking about the year 2012, where I took over as as training myself to be a CrossFit athlete. And that's where the whole journey started, where, it kind of really kicked in that this is something which I like. The community aspect, where we were a bunch of about 8-10 people training in a session. And that's where I went and spoke to a couple of people saying that what will it take me to stand over there and lead a session? And a lot of questions were answered by, doing the CrossFit Level course, where, I got myself equipped with whatever knowledge I could, rather than just standing and doing things without too much of information. So I got myself certified with L1, and that's where I started.
So sorry to interrupt you there. Just to clarify for me, so that I paint the picture in my head very clearly. Yeah. You did the certification. Before you did the certification, you had quit your job already?
Or? I had quit my job already. It was about 6-7 months. I was looking at a lot of avenues to work at. Healthy food was one option I was looking at. But something, it was not resonating. I kept on working and looked at.
But when you were quitting your job, what was the thought like? Kya karne wale hain?
No plans. Okay. No plans.
Okay.
I was fortunate. My wife was doing good for herself. I had a good support at home with my wife and my kids. So I think that was the essential strength I had to take a call.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, not everybody, of course, has that backup or support, but a lot of people do, and still they don't pursue their calling and do much about it. Which is
Well,
great.
you know, it was an impulsive decision. I came home and I told my family. They stood by me. I mean, I think I still give a lot of virtue to the fact that they stood by me, and to where we are today in terms of whatever communities we build up or wherever I am in my professional career. A lot of credit goes to my family who supported me throughout, you know, those days when, you know, I did not have a job and there were ideas. I was getting frustrated also. But yeah, it takes time. Everything takes time to settle in. Everything has its own right time to kind of fall in place. So that's where, you know, where I came back, I did not have a job. I did not have a plan. I did not have any idea what I need to do. The only thing was that, ye nahi karna. That's it. I said, I don't want to work for somebody 9 to 6 and get, burnt out and do not have time for my boys and do not have time for my family. That's something I knew I don't want to do. Yeah. What I want to do, I still had a lot of, unclear picture.
Yeah. So one way to figure out what you want in life is to clarify for yourself what you don't want.
Yeah.
And that's a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful, sir. So you did the CrossFit trainers course.
Yes.
So you said you briefly wanted to explore something in healthy food and
yes.
So what was that like?
So I was again looking at a lot of healthy food options. Food trucks were things which were really in my head. But 2012 there were not too much of clarity in terms of the laws, and it required a lot of investment. So that was also an option that I did not have any too much of money to be investing into the business. So I was looking at something which resonates with what my personality is. Fitness and sports and healthy life was something I was looking at. I did not have too much of funds. I did not want to go out and ask for money from anybody. So I was looking at all these combinations to see what to start with. And gradually and slowly opportunities came my way, and gradually we set up with what we are today.
So you stumbled upon CrossFit somehow, and then you just said something which I want to know more about. So you said when you attended that course, you wondered what would it take for me to stand there and train these people, or be on that stage.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the idea was first to equip myself in whatever I wanted to do. So I went and did a L1 course. Again, it required an investment, but that investment was worthwhile because I was doing that investment on myself. And knowledge, no matter how much you spend, it's always, it always pays off somewhere or the other. So that's where I went. And while I was doing my strength and conditioning course, I connected with the corporate office of Reebok. And that was a time when running as a sport, or I would say as an amateur activity, was really taking up in Gurgaon 2012, 2013. And that's where, I was referred to, running was something which I had picked up while I was in Bangalore. Bangalore has some amazing running culture. Yeah. When I came back, I continued training myself in running. I was doing strength and conditioning. And my name was somewhere referred to the Reebok team, saying that, this guy is somebody you could kind of, take care, and you can appoint him to take care of something they call Reebok Running Squad to be started again. Yeah. So they called me, interviewed me, see if I could do that. And that was the first step which kind of, really helped me set up with what I wanted to do. So in the month of October 2012-13, Reebok approached and they wanted to start Reebok Running Squad to train people for the ATL Delhi Half Marathon. It started out well. We've made a very, very good, strong Reebok Running Squad community in Gurgaon. But that was a very, very short-term project which we were doing for about 3 months because post-ADHM, they wanted to shut it and then reopen it, the next pre-ADHM. Which was absolutely okay. It was a part of the marketing arm and it made a lot of sense with what they were doing. But, post-ADHM, the folks who were connected with me, who were training with me, we stayed together, and they said, if Reebok has stopped, why don't you continue training us? Because in the end, it's you who's training us. So it kind of worked out well. It did not require any investment because I was using an outdoor park. It required me training people. It required, just connecting with people. And that's what I was looking at. And that's where the whole strength and conditioning came into place. For me, being a CrossFit L1 coach, being a runner, what I wanted to look at was, and that was, I believe, the need of the hour was that a lot of runners were running, getting injured without realizing what is the important aspect of running is strength and conditioning, which was a big aspect they were missing. And I wanted to just bank on that and I started coaching people. We had a bunch of about 12 to 14 people who were training, and that's where we started. And, then from there, it's never looking back.
That is amazing. So you saw the running culture was definitely growing.
Yes.
And there was a need for runners to identify the importance of strength and conditioning.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that in detail about why this is important. But tell us when you started this journey. So Bootcamp Yellow came into being in 2013.
2013 February. As we talk, we complete 10 years. This is a decade. We complete decade this month.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So congratulations and thank you for building such an amazing community that inspires people around. So Bootcamp Yellow, I've been seeing Bootcamp Yellow for a very long time. I have been in the running circuit. And my first real introduction of BCY was actually at one of the marathon running events where one of my friends was doing a full marathon. I think, I'm not sure if I've shared the experience with you. He was doing a full marathon and I think I was doing a half. So I finished my half and a couple of other people who did their half. We went back on the route to get him, to sort of pace him for the last few kilometers because full marathons are challenging, right? And when we got to him, he already had 4 people by his side, like 2 on this side, 2 on this side, wearing In Us We Trust Bootcamp Yellow t-shirts. And they were pouring water over his head. They were cheering him on. And they're like, he's well taken care of, man.
Yeah.
So this was amazing. So this was my first real introduction of this community. I was like, ये लोग कौन है यार? ये तो हमारे group के भी नहीं है ना, ये बंदा हमारे group का है.
Right.
Why are they doing this for him?
Yeah.
So my first impression was amazing. I was like, these are a good bunch of people. They're doing something right. And then of course we finished the run and we thanked everybody. It was all great to see.
Yeah.
So tell us, how do you build this culture? So one way to build culture is monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
तो अगर आप खुद कुछ ऐसा करते हो तो दूसरे भी देख के ऐसा करते हैं आपकी community में. And the other way is also encouraging certain behaviors and discouraging certain behaviors. Yeah. How did you? So does the culture of the group flow just from you that you're like this and then it becomes automatic to everybody else, or did you have to consciously work on building that culture?
I never thought or took that as a conscious decision. We've just kind of kept the culture a very training focused culture. What do people want? We cater to our average age of Bootcamp Yellow athlete who's running or training with us is about 36. So we are talking about a mid-age, corporate guy who has families, and they look out to come out and they look at a little disciplined environment in terms of they're serious about their fitness. That's where we look at, if you look at your teens until about 20, you're too busy in setting up your career. 20 to 30, you're like back to work, you're kind of making your professional career. Then you have achieved your family. You now realize that, 36, 37, you need to get into fitness in terms of you need to spend time on yourself. So we've just kept the environment very, very honest, kept the whole culture around training. We've had communities where, the culture has been depending on what they want to achieve out of it. My objective has always been that if you come and train with us, you are looking at achieving something, you're looking at achieving your aspirational goals, you're looking at progressing in probably you would dreamt of sometime. And when you give them honest environment, I live by in bootcamp very simple 3 words. It's community, it's respect, and exceptional service. These are 3 words. If you go to my if you come to Bootcamp Yellow, you will find these words written all over. If you go to my any communication, we always put these 3 words because that's what we've kind of really lived by. And a very important word you said was in us we trust.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
So it's something we for us we're just trying to create that culture that people start believing in themselves that they can achieve it. It's not about what I say, it's not about what you say, it's not about what you're doing that I want to achieve. It's the first thing is the mindset. So we want to kind of push everybody to start looking at things that they can achieve it. And that's how the culture drives, and that's how like you're saying, monkey see, monkey do. Yes, that's an important aspect, but that also has to be driven at certain points where it's not that I drive a culture, it's not that who you drive a culture, it's the whole energy of the system. And the energy of the system is always kept around very, very honest, and very disciplined in terms of training focus. And sometimes I get a lot of flack for it also, because sometimes I'm very strict. But if I'm not strict, then we don't drive the culture we want to drive.
Yeah, no, I myself have some experience of running a community, and I've seen so many communities around, and with that comes so many challenges.
Yes.
It's not easy to please everybody.
Yeah.
And so in that respect, I mean, BCY for me stands out. You've done a commendable job of keeping people together and keeping them in good spirits, of just helping each other and working towards each other's progress.
Yeah.
So, Jatin, so it's been great so far. What I want to know from you is about longevity. You guys talk about longevity quite a bit in your communication. Longevity is a subject that does interest me a lot personally. I believe the lifespans are shortening, the health spans are shortening. So just thinking about longevity and doing things that support that are important in today's day and time. How do you guys help people live longer or improve their health spans?
See, even when you talk about fitness, fitness is not about just, picking up a 1 week challenge or something which you pick up on the 1st of Jan, New Year's, that I'm going to start something and by the end of the month, we are done, dusted. It's not about picking up like a crazy diet, which will not be sustainable, or looking at a 100-day run challenge. There are these crazy challenges you see, thanks to social media, of course, they are at a rise in an abstract way, which personally does not connect with me. Fitness is about all your habits, what you do every day. And those habits are not yours if you try to do it alone. Those habits have to trickle down what is happening in your house. If I decide to eat something healthy, and if my family is not supporting me and not duplicating the same thing, then it is no point. I will not be able to sustain it. I will not be able to take it on a long-term basis. If I want to sleep early because I am tired, my body is fatigued out, if there's a family get together, I'm not able to sustain it. So what we are talking about over here in terms of fitness is that it has to change in terms of your habit. It has to change in your daily routine. You cannot just come train with me for an hour and for the rest 23 hours you're abusing your body, you're abusing your time. So we're talking about what you do in the whole 24 hours. So that's where we are not just training people for that hour, we are also trying to get them out in terms of educating them. To give you an example, we've recently got a WhatsApp group going on with all women in it. We call it We Fit. It is not a paid program. It is an absolutely free program. I'm not running it. We have our BCY members, women who are accomplished doctors, nutritionists, who are dermatologists and are into fitness, are into running, are into cycling. And they are leading that group by educating women that what can be done. There is so much of mind block there is around that if I'm a woman, I cannot do this, or I cannot do a specific, routine I cannot follow. So we are just trying to get them going, So when I say longevity, we're talking about getting your habits in place, doing things on a sustainable basis rather than just one odd, day you do it and then you're off.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So are there specific protocols that people have to follow, or do you give recommendations on how should people live the rest of their day? So let's say first hour, and this is where a lot of a term a friend recently told me about, active couch potato.
Yeah.
So these guys are active because they are working out for an hour.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 hours, and then rest of the day they just sat in front of a computer. Do you give protocols to these people, or do you encourage just good behaviors and movement?
See, as a coach, as a trainer, you get a lot of protocols. I can give as many protocols as you want, but in the end, you have to do it. If it doesn't hit you, you do not follow it. So, a lot of people come to us purely because it has struck them that something is going wrong. I need to fix it. And I think that's the first battle they won. And that's why they come to us. And I think we are blessed with a very, very strong community where almost 75 to 80% of our people who come join us are not through social media, are not through putting posters. They're all through references. Why references? Because I am the best. If I'm a boot camp yellow BCY member, and if I have changed my life, I have got into a healthy way, I have visually changed, I have physically changed numbers in terms of my biomarkers, I will be the first, I would say the role model for a lot of people around.
Walking, talking
About us. And we've been here in this sustained all the seasons for 10 years now. And we have some amazing journeys, amazing stories. That there have been times when we see people and we just amazed to see the changes they've brought in their life, and we see their kids now following the same footsteps. So it is more of people doing the talk rather than we sitting over there and telling them like a principle that ye karo wo karo. We don't talk about all that. We just let our people show and lead by example.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about runners. So मैं खुद भी रनर हूँ और बाकी हमारे दोस्त भी बहुत सारे रनर्स हैं. In your opinion, what mistakes are runners currently making? And yeah, so let's talk about the mistakes that they're making currently.
I think I would not restrict you to runners. I would put this to endurance athletes. I think the first thing they need to realize is that they need to give enough importance to what they do with their training is to their rest, recovery, and sleep. Sleep is the one habit which is abused the most. If I'm an endurance athlete, I would cut down on my sleep, but I will put an extra hour of training. I would have worked for crazy whole day. I will not sleep, but I will want to go and train an extra hour. Big thinking that is going to help me, is going to help me progress, is going to make me better. Unfortunately, if you are spending time on the road or on the treadmill or on the saddle training, respect sleep. 7 to 8 hours, you have to put that time into your rest and recovery. Otherwise, progressions and injuries are something which...
counterproductive.
It's counterproductive, absolutely. So people need to understand that they need to give enough importance to sleep and rest.
Yeah, I heard one of the coaches talk about if you had to choose between a 7-mile run and a 7-hour sleep, choose a 7-hour sleep. If you can do both, then that's the best.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I will not go far. This Monday, I had a very hectic Sunday workout. Sunday, I had a long ride. I had an indoor ride for about good 3 hours. I woke up, went for work. I came back. My body was not responding because, of course, I had fatigued out. My whole last week build-up was very heavy. I didn't even think of sitting on the saddle for 3 hours. It would have been counterproductive. I just switched off the lights. I slept, called it a day, woke up, went for work in the evening. But my next day, I had a good, strong swim purely because I respected to listen to my body. And that is the important, aspect which endurance athletes have to listen to for them not to be injured or for them to progress. They have to respect that.
Yeah. So 2 questions. One was about somebody who, again, I'm going back to the conversation we are having about somebody who does not do anything at the moment. Why is exercise important for longevity? Just to come back on the subject for a second.
I would say exercise for longevity, you will look at, I would first tell people that, exercising is not about just getting and paying heavy subscriptions to a gym to get fit. As simple as starting to walk, starting to just, doing some basic daily physical activity is what is important. Now, why is it important? I think these are things which all of us understand and know. Our eating habits are not at the best. The food which we are kind of getting are not the cleanest. The lifestyles we are living in terms of work, stress, the kind of ease of getting things, ordering things at home is there. So all our habits are all over the place right now. So what we need to do is we need to get into more physical exercise. Now, when I say physical exercise, everybody understands those numbers are there. You Google it, you'll get the numbers. We need to live an active lifestyle. 45 minutes burns X amount of calories to live healthy life. Blood tests are something which we don't take care of. We need to address that issue also. So for me, it's just simple. Any kind of physical activity is important. That physical activity, what fits your need, what fits your comfort, what fits your, I would say, your routine, your pattern is as good as it could be.
So I want to go a little deeper. Why is that physical activity important? Why is that movement important?
If you want to go technical, we're talking about your joint strength. We're talking about mobility. We're talking about ensuring that you are looking at spending enough time doing that work to cut down fat, to make sure your muscles are supple, to make sure you are into that physical activity, to be more than physically, you're also mentally fit. You're in the mental comfort level. It's a great stress buster. You do a 30-minute walk, you come back after a heavy day of stress, you'll feel that stress buster. For me, I think it's a great bonding between a family where they go out for a 30-minute walk away from the screen time. Fitness is one way, you're also giving a good, example to your family at home that what can be done. So, it's a good family exercise you can do, but there are plenty of things you can keep on adding to the list.
Yeah. No, it is. So it is actually wonderful to think about in this way. Like, it's a good family activity as well as catching up with people, right? It's always about catching up with people over beer or coffee, or lunches. It could be about catching up over workouts with runnings and cycles.
Absolutely, and I think you've talked about catching up with people. Recently there's a new trend which has come out now and I think I really like the fact that this thought process is coming to a lot of corporates. I remember my corporate days. Us was team outing. Friday evening, you have a budget from the organization, go have a couple of beers, have some crazy food, you go home drunk, and then you're done. Now the culture is converting into getting them out into an outdoor team building activity. We've been doing quite a lot of these activities now. So, in the morning, on a Friday afternoon, the weather is good, get your guys out, get them introduced to some kind of physical activity, get them to do a little bit of running, make them move. For them to understand, that what can be achieved in that 30 to 45 minutes. And the best part is we see a lot of senior leadership being there. And when they are there, and we have a lot of women also participating in it. So it's create a good, healthy atmosphere rather than, spending that evening in a drinking joint.
Yeah. That'll still probably keep happening. But if you, as long as you supplement it with some workouts and exercise, it's less damaging. Yeah. Wonderful, sir. So coming back to the runners, what mistakes the runners are making? Would you want to give some specific advice to somebody, let's say, who's just begun running, somebody who has perhaps run a 10K so far, or maybe one or two 21Ks. They're just getting hooked onto the sport of running, cycling, swimming, long distances. They're just beginning to like it now, and of course, one thing that happens with people is people get hooked very quickly, and then they want to do event after event after event, and then faster timings, longer distances.
Yes.
That's what people want to do. But in the process, they ignore a lot of things. What are the things that they're ignoring, and what should they be doing?
I think you've picked up a lot of important points over here, and we see it. When you pick up, a lot of people in our community are picking up running purely because, it gives them some way of physical activity of stepping out and doing things which probably they wouldn't have thought maybe a few years back. It's not a short-term goal which they should look at. It is slow. It is steady. It is going to take them time to change. I tell a lot of people that, what you are today is not because of thanks to a week or a month. It's taken you years to come to a little unfit life. If people generally therefore approach us, don't expect it to change in a month. Don't expect it to change in a week. You need to give it time. You need to respect that. So it has to respect it in terms of time. You need to go slow. Nothing comes too fast too soon. The only thing will come too fast too soon is injury if you try to do it. So keep it slow, give it time. Chasing for time, chasing for distances, chasing for pace, everything will happen. But you need to ensure that your body is getting ready for it. You have an event every Sunday. There are days where there are 3 events on a Sunday. Last weekend, in Gurgaon itself, there are more than 3 to 4 events happening on a Sunday. So you don't know what to do. You don't know where to go. It's okay. the day will not come to an end. Your running journey will not come to an end if you do not run an event. What you need to do is you need to be mindful of spending enough time in doing or training slowly and gradually. Couple it up with a good strength and conditioning program. That is essential. Running itself is not a regime which will take you long. It will, yes, help you build some basic muscle strength, but you need to have a strength and conditioning program for you to run better. You need to run, okay, understood. But you need to couple it up with a strength and conditioning program. And that strength and conditioning does not mean going to a gym and lifting heavy weights. There are a lot of body weight workouts being done. There are a lot of online programs there. There are a lot of open outdoor programs which are being done. Suit what works for you. So respect that. And then pick up a good, healthy community which fits your need. I'm not saying that we are the only one. There are many communities in Gurgaon. Not necessarily they follow the kind of program we follow. Everybody have their own USP. They follow their own USPs and they are thriving. They're doing well. They are bringing out some good, strong runners. If you fit into that culture, join that community. It really helps you, run safely. No point in Gurgaon running all by yourself. People around you will always provide you that safety. Camaraderie, that is very essential for runners, running together. And while you're doing that, you get a lot of motivation. Yes, you get a lot of education with people around you. Experienced runners always talk about their experiences. They talk about their journeys. Not necessarily their journey has to be your journey, but there are always some pointers you pick it up from them. Duplicate that. And if it works for you, who knows that maybe 2 years, 3 years down the line, from a 10K, you've done your full marathon. So, yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about different training zones. So when there are people who are coming into the sport very new, they and let's say I've run for a few years, so I understand the game, the sport a little bit. And if I'm advising somebody to go a little slow, they think that because I'm not a very fast runner, I want everybody to run slow. Right. So instead, what I want you to help me tell people is why are zones important? Because there's different adaptations that happen in different zones in your body. So every zone has its own value, has its own place in your training. So please tell people, why is it physiological adaptation wise important to run in, different zones?
Vipin, I think these zones and these HRs and all these these fancy terms which have come in, I think what we need to first understand is the importance and what comes out of it. A lot of times people come and question, coach, I've been training so hard, I've been working so hard, but my run was again in zone 4. I start walking and I suddenly go in zone 3 and zone 4. I again go back and reiterate this point to all my athletes, is just by training harder, training longer, putting more volume, putting more intensity in your training is never going to change your zones. Yes, they will bump up and down, but what makes the change in your zones is your stress, your sleep, your recovery, your nutrition, your hydration. So as an athlete, we want to work on 6 aspects to get a better, stronger runner. What I'm focusing on is only on my running. Now, I want to become an athlete. I want to become a strong runner. Am I respecting the hydration needs? Am I looking at the kind of nutrition I need for those intensities, those volumes? Am I giving my body enough rest and sleep? My training is for an hour. What am I doing in the remaining time? I have stress. I have work stress. I have loads and loads of family stress. Body doesn't know what is stress. It's physical stress, mental stress, family stress, whatever stress it is. It comes on what your need is. So physiological changes will come, the zones will change if we start respecting these 5 other aspects also. So that is first to start with, that it's not about running at a pace of 6 to come to a 5, my zones will change. No. Yes, your thresholds will change, but your heart rate will not change. So we need to respect that and understand that. Coming back to the heart rate zones, yes, again, by running, we need to learn that if I want to run fast, I have to first learn how to run slow. For me, 80% of our trainings are done in zone 2, zone 3. What do you mean by zone 2, zone 3s? I do not talk about more than 70 to 75% of my max heart rate when I'm training. Majority of the races which you do, or I would say 80% of the races you do, are always done in zone 3s. You don't go in zone 4, zone 5. Yes, there are periods when you really want to push. There are periods when you really want to go for your personal best timings. When you've trained for certain things, you go give your all-out effort. But races are not done on all-out efforts. Trainings are not done on all-out efforts. You need to periodization. You have to periodize your trainings to ensure that where you are, what is your current physical state. So for me, if I look at a good, let's say 12-month training period for a runner, to look at doing, if somebody who's already done a couple of half marathons and he has a very specific goal in terms of improving his time, I'm not going to be making him run like, on his zone 4s and zone 5s or threshold runs or VO2 maxes. I'm not going to be doing that. I will be spending about 70% of that training zone in teaching him to run slow. It is not, like I said, it's not going to change overnight. Adaptations take time. Body physiological changes take time. And that time will differ from athlete to athlete, will change from runner to runner, will change in terms of what has his been background. What sports background is he coming from? Somebody who has lived a very, very non-active life for 35 years and suddenly started to run now, we don't see him running a half marathon in 150, 155. People will. I'm not saying they don't. People do. But is it the right way to do it? Again, I would look at case to case. So again, trainings will differ from athlete to athlete, but the base remains the same. We talk about base building. We talk about your physiological changes. We talk about your ankle joint strength. We talk about your muscle getting enough strength and enough, you understanding your fuel optimization in terms of ensuring that you are able to cope up to the loads your body is taking up. Otherwise, we know that every second person will be out running, long distance. Everybody's an ultra runner. It is not. It is a lot of physical adaptations you look at. There are a lot of mental, load we need to look at. Sometimes it's not about physical. You're an ultra runner. You know it. It's after a certain point, it's not about what physical is. It's all mental. If you are mentally strong, if you're able to push yourself, you can, cross that finish line. So there are a lot of cases to cases we have to see. So if people are listening, I would only say, train patiently. Don't be in a rush. You're not going to be, finishing off, the whole training period in a week or a month. It's a long duration game. That's why people say it's called a marathon. You need to take time.
And we tend to forget it's meant to give us joy.
Yeah. Somebody came up to me and sometime told me, because, we also went through this cycle where we were focusing a lot on speed. We were focusing a lot on getting people to run faster. So it took us to pull back and understand that, this is not what we want to do. We want what we call as joy of running. Yeah. So that's where we perpetually pull back. And, as a coach, I've also gone through as an athlete, yes, but as a coach, I've gone through my learning experiences also. Initially, I would also be in a similar boat where people would come to me. We would make people run faster, longer. But I think experience teaches you best. It's not just about what you learn in a book or doing a certification. It's your experiences, handling people, training people. And people teach you a lot of lessons in terms of what kind of coaching would they want. So we've adapted. We've adapted in ways where, as a coach, I've adapted. As a community, we've adapted to make sure that we don't keep a set template for everybody. We look at individuals' background. We look at what are their goals. But what we really do is that when they come to us, we show them an honest and real picture. That we've had cases where somebody came to us recently. In a span of 6 months, from a couch, she did a 6-hour run in a stadium. When I looked at her, I was a little uncomfortable that this is impossible. And she's from a medical background. She's a doctor. And I looked at her. Of course, I didn't say anything to her because she was not training with me. She was training with another coach. Not the right way to go and, tell her this is not right. I just kind of told her that, you should focus on a couple of other things too in order to get stronger. But when you look at that typical template, it scares me. But again, we show the real picture to athletes who come and train with you that this is not the right way. And if we have to say no as a coach, if I have to say no, I would say no. Those days, the initial days where we would just try to cling on to a runner and say, hey, come on, I'll train with you. I think those days have crossed, where if somebody comes and tells us, wants us to achieve targets, which as per me would be not real time, I would tell them it's not real time. And if he still wishes to train with me, great. If he says no, I'll be very happily shake hands with him and say, you know what, maybe somebody else will help you with that. I can't. Yeah.
So lot of people want to transition from running to triathlons. Not everybody does. Some people do. I happen to be one of those. I wanted to do an Ironman last year. I signed up, in fact, a couple of years ago when COVID happened, and then it got postponed, and then it got postponed again when the second wave happened. And then I took the refund, and now the triathlon game is on the side. When I started swimming and when I started cycling, I realized that this is a very different sport, especially cycling, and especially triathlon. So it's not like you begin to become a good cyclist and you begin to become a good swimmer and you're a runner already. You think you can crush a triathlon. But when you do all three together, there are a lot of dynamics that come into play. There's so many things that I didn't understand personally. So would you want to talk a little bit about what are those specifics that people should keep in mind when they're transitioning from a runner to a triathlete?
Absolutely. I think before that, I would like to, share the story of how triathlons happened with us, So, post 6 years of, boot camp, a lot of runners had achieved a lot of milestones. They were running strong, and they came to me saying, Coach, what next? That was the first thing they said, what's next? So that also kind of, got me into evolving again, that, okay, boot camp ho raha hai, strength ho raha hai, running ho raha hai, now what can we do? And that's where, we started understanding that cycling is a big thing. Swimming is something new. Again, focus and attention was always, we need to do something related to fitness. That was always the main aim and the main objective of what we wanted to do. So, we met a local swim coach and said, you know what, I want to get few of my guys to learn swimming. Will you help us? She said, yeah, why not? And we did a trial class, and then that happened. While we were doing it, then a bunch of guys were, picking up their cycle, and their off days, they said, Coach, thoda cycling kar rahe hain. I said, Karo. I said, hey, why not triathlon? Let's look at it. And then I started spending time on it, studying more. And I started training myself. I've always been from a swimming background. So swimming came very naturally to me. But of course, in the long break, I stopped swimming. But, started coming back to me when I hit the water. And then, things started coming back to me. I had a cycle. Bangalore, I used to ride cycle to work. I was just about 5 kilometers. So that was a very regular commute for me. So cycling was always there. And then we started doing it. And then I started training myself. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have any knowledge about. The only thing I knew about was YouTube, talking to people, understanding. Registered myself for Ironman 70.3 without realizing what the course was, without realizing the conditions. Anjaan aadmi, kuch bhi nahi pata tha. And then while I was doing that, I said, hey, you know what? My first step is always, if I want to train people, I need to be educated. I can't just haphazardly with experience start training people. So I found out multiple courses. I found out Ironman had a great course, invested in that. Took me a few months to do that. Spoke to a couple of coaches around, but never invested in a coach. I reached Bintan without realizing the course, and that course is one of the toughest courses when it comes to rolling hills.
Bintan near Singapore, right?
So it's about an hour's ferry journey from Singapore. 7 hills while I was climbing up, 7 hills while I was climbing back. Headwinds were crazy. I barely managed to finish. Amazing experience. I think the whole training experience of swimming, cycling, running, it kind of gave me a lot of sense to the sport. And the next thing is I came back and I said, I'm going to do better. The first thing, I invested in a coach. I hired a coach. So when I told people that I'm going to be training you for triathlons, I've studied, I've done a triathlon, but I'm going to work with you. I'm not going to be, spending in terms of, you're not going to be spending on me, but I'm going to help you build it up. Start training people, getting people to get into triathlons. But I had a coach also. Why I'm emphasizing this point was that I always wanted to have a coach who could push me to do what I was always shying away. I mean, my biggest example was whenever I was riding indoors on the trainer, I would never used to do any hill repeats because I used to find them very tough. When I went to Bintan, the reality hit me. So I said, you know what, I want somebody who can really, really be on my head and tell me what to do. And it paid off. Spent about good 3 years with him. Really transformed into, doing a couple of good triathlons after that. But where the point was coming is that, you need to get a good strong coach who understands you, start building you up, and enjoy the whole sport as a journey. For me, I think I've enjoyed over the last 4.5-5 years now being on the saddle, swimming a lot, running. I think as a whole athlete, as a whole community, it's all about discipline. It's made me really disciplined individual. I think the consistency in my training, sometimes I sometimes surprise myself that how do I get time? I can squeeze my time, but I'll make sure I never miss my training session. And that's how it has built up over years and over time, because it started with a very simple thing. People started challenging me, coach, what's next? And now luckily we are one of the biggest in NCR. We have been, very, very aggressively training people. Ironman Goa this time, we had more than about 44 people from Tri Club Gurgaon participating over there. Personal objective is to make it double into 2023. Let's see, we are moving in the right direction.
Amazing. So I think there is something to be said about this decision about hiring a coach. Now, this is something that I've learned very recently for myself. It actually shortens your learning curve, and hiring a coach actually helps you in ways that you currently can't even imagine before hiring a coach. The feedback that you get. So let's say you've been training by yourself, and you look at the numbers. Numbers is all you look at.
Yes.
But a coach would be able to give you feedback beyond what the numbers is saying. They'll be able to look at where you were. They'll be able to look at the whole context of where you are in your journey, and the context of your life as well, to what your current heart rate is telling you. And this feedback actually is extremely valuable to you, because it keeps you on track. It sort of stops you from getting demotivated and going off track. Coach keeps you on track, but also their feedback is beyond just the numbers.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think training is not just about looking at numbers. A lot of times, because triathlon training, it is again not a 1 month or a 2 month journey. We take at least 6 months for an athlete to join us and get them to do a race, an international race. So it's a long game. There are different phases one goes through during that time. So more than just physical adaptations, mentally also, there are a lot of these battles an athlete goes through. Yeah. And that is where the coach's experience, his knowledge, his maturity comes and puts you in bay that we can do it. Puts that confidence back into you. I keep on telling people triathlon training is a very big leveler. There are days when you sit on the saddle and you do an amazing workout and you astonish yourself that these are the power outputs I get. Come day 2, day 3, suddenly you find yourself in the dump because you had some certain personal issue, mental issue, and then it'll level you, saying that, hey, I'm still doubt whether I can pull those powers or not. No matter my FTP is 220, but I cannot ride at 130, 135. What do I do? So that is where the coach will put you up. Never mind, it's a bad day. He will put you into the right frame of mind. He will tweak your workouts so that, you get a workout where it builds you back in your confidence. It gives you a lot of insights of his racing experiences. So I think it's your coach and you, it's a collaboration. It's not you paying him, he better do his job. No. Yeah. You need to communicate with him what you like, what you're enjoying, what is working for you, what you're not working for you. You need to be vocal about it. You need to demand that from your coach. It has to have both ways. There are times when, athletes come and demand things out of me where they say, no, coach, I want this, this, this. I need to pull back and say, no, it is not needed right now. Sometimes the demand for it, I agree to it, because it's a good, healthy conversation we are doing, because in the end, the goal is what? The goal is to make sure that the athlete finishes his race strong. Yeah, that is the objective both of us are working toward. And your coach always looks at it from a third eye view. He looks at what is going not just on the saddle, around you, to make sure that he gives you the right training phase to get stronger, better. His job is to make you go towards success. His job is not to make you go towards failure. Yeah. So he needs to build that and play with your program accordingly.
Would you say everyone needs a coach? I would say everyone needs a coach.
I would say every individual endurance athlete needs a coach. Yeah. Which coach you need is something you have to understand your need, the coach's your coach's training style, the coach's complete in terms of what's his values in terms of coaching. That kind of has to connect.
Yeah.
Every coach is not for every athlete. Every athlete is not for every coach. So there is a good mix one has to find out.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So coming back to the subject of triathlons that we were discussing earlier. So let's say there's a runner who's wanting to transition to triathlons. What would be your advice? How should they go about it? How should they go about what skill sets do they need? How should they evaluate their ability? And how should they make estimates about the amount of effort and time and everything that's going to go into it? Let's talk about that.
See, when I'm looking at a triathlon as a sport, we like the name says, you need to look at swim, cycle, run. We're looking at these three disciplines. So the first thing is a very clear answer to that. What are my skill levels in the three disciplines? Yes, of course, he's a runner. So he's coming from a running background. Swimming. What is his current swimming levels? If he's 0, then he needs to first go learn swimming. Anybody who wants to kickstart swimming, age is no limit. I've had people at the age of 40, 42, 0 swimmers, have taken 3 to 4 months to get into the water, learn the freestyle skill, and they've learned swimming. Now, remember, when you learn swimming with an aspect that you want to do a triathlon, you will need to understand that you're not going to be a great, fantastic swimmer. We are not making you into a Olympic swimmer or to be a podium finisher in swimming. We are teaching you swimming to become a triathlete. So you should be a swimmer where you understand the skill, learn the skill. Freestyle is a stroke most of us use. People do use breaststroke also. Once you've learned that, then you need to understand that you will be doing the race in an open water environment, in an ocean, lake. Those are generally when you go do international triathlons. There are triathlons which happen in a pool also, smaller local events, which are good stepping stones for people to understand the flavor and the whole experience of what a triathlon takes. So they need to understand swimming, learn swimming before they get into the triathlon game. Then cycling is an important aspect. Triathlon is not a cheap sport. It's an expensive sport purely because of the gear. If you look at a gear, if you look at a gear, you need to invest in coaching. B, you need to look at gears in terms of your cycle, shoes. If you have the luxury of time, then you can ride outdoors. You can ride. But people like us who live in Gurgaon, where we know that if you don't cycle for that 1 hour in the morning, then you can't go think of venturing out on the city roads. So you need to invest in a trainer. So you buy a trainer so that you can always train at your own time. And then, of course, you need to spend time in running. So you need to build it up. You need to package it well. So the first thing what we look at is the skills. Then we look at what are my financials, whether I can afford that sport as a whole or not. But of course, all these investments which you look at are not that you're going to be looking at that you're going to be spending time every time investing in that. If I buy a cycle, buy a trainer, I can multiply it by good about 2-3 years I can spend my time into. Then look at the race. If any race you go, most of the Ironmans happen internationally. There's only one which happened in our country in Goa. So you look at an Ironman going internationally, travel cost, all the visa cost, hotel cost, all this adds a lot. So for me, I need to look at anywhere from around 3 to 5 lakhs. From today, I decide to do a triathlon, and if I wanted to go do a Ironman 70.3, I would look at a good 6 to 8 months, life journey to get ready. That's the kind of cost I would look at. Then it would look at, do I have the time? Now, a lot of us are corporate guys. Time is not at our luxury. We need consistency. We need regular training. We look at anywhere from 4 to 5 to a 6-day week training, where you would spend about 60 to 90 minutes every day, which will include your individual skills, which will include your strength and conditioning also. Now, again, when I say the training period, 60 to 90 minutes, that will depend on what training phase you are at. So if I begin my training journey, I would say a 60-minute time I would need every day to about 6 to 8 hours a week. again, it depends on when you work with a coach. He will help you understand what are the days where you can train longer, what are the days or working days where you would want to cut it short. And as we build up our volume, the training time will increase. And as we go closer to the race day, we will be talking about reaching our peak times and peak phases where we will be spending more time on our saddle or more time. So it has to be planned way, and it has to be looked at in a way where we are enjoying the whole journey. And we take the call of making sure that we are able to sustain that time period to go and do a strong race.
What does periodization of training mean?
Again, periodization depends on what phase you are at. So if I go back and say that I have a 6-month period from today to my race day for an Ironman, like we were talking about earlier about running training, triathlon training works the same way, where I will be talking about my base phase. Depending on where that individual comes from, I would periodize his training in a good 8 to 12 weeks, where I will be just talking about doing zone 2, zone 3 rides, zone 2, zone 3 runs, easy swims, where he's only building on volume to understand what the sport is all about, getting his body ready to get into what we call as a build phase. I would say anywhere from around 6 to 8 weeks. Again, the 6 to 8 weeks depend on an athlete. I would extend that also, where the volume more or less pulls back, but we start talking about intensities. That's where we know that guy has spent 3 months in building the base, so he knows what a 3-hour ride would mean, what a 2-hour run would mean. So his body is ready to take the load. We reduce the volume, but we will now start talking about his intensities. We start talking about doing a lot of zone 3, zone 4 rides. We look at doing some stronger intervals for his runs. Swim is where we start building up a little more on pace and a little bit of speed. There's a period where we start making him understand on brick workouts, where you cycle and you run. We don't do that in the first day, or we don't look at the first 3 months. We start teaching him how the body would feel after a 2-hour ride. What would you do if you go just to a leg opener, a 20-minute run also? It's not as easy as just running, but after...
What's a leg opener?
Leg opener, basically an easy aerobic run, doing like what we call is a easy zone 2 run. You're spending 2 hours on the saddle. So when you get off the saddle and you start moving,
those jelly legs,
those lactate formed in your quads, and you know that when you want to run, they will feel high and your heart rate shoots up. So how you try to understand that feeling that, and once you get off the saddle, you'll automatically feel that you can run faster because your cadence was so high on the saddle. But you need to understand that high cadence in running will get you into a higher heart rate. So how you adapt to that, how you understand your physiological changes, that how you can control that. So that's where we introduce him in the build phase. Then we're talking about a peak phase. That means the periodization of him getting closer to the race, where we are duplicating a lot of race environment for him. If I am doing a race where there are a lot of climbs, so we introduce that for him. We know that he's going to be doing a hot weather ride. Like for me, I'm training in peak of winters. I am in March going and training in a peak hot weather where it's going to be a 35 plus degree in Philippines. So for me right now, my training is in closed doors, indoors, where a couple of times I've switched on the heater to get the room temperature way up. So I'm sweating, but I have to get the race environment ready. So these are these periodization and these phases which you start working with the athlete and you start building him so that it is systematic. His body takes the adaptations and he starts understanding that what the load is. And we gradually overload him. While we are doing that, an important aspect we start teaching him is about nutrition, about fueling, about hydration. Racing for good 6.5, 7 hours, in hot weather conditions. You remember that if you do any running event, you start at about 5:36 in the morning, and by the time the sun is on top of your head, you're done with your run, right? Here, you only start running.
Unless you're running an ultra.
Unless you're running an ultra, of course. Yeah. No, but what we say is in a triathlon, you only start running when the sun is right on top of your head. 10, 10:30, 11. An average, I would say, a recreational triathlete, he would be starting his run by that time. He wouldn't do that in his training days. So that's the time when we start telling him what is the importance of hydration, about fueling, about what to drink, how much to drink, what to eat, how much to eat. These are all these little changes and little education sessions we keep on doing with them. So these are all which are fit into his training plan, and that's how it takes about 6 to 9 months for him to be race ready.
Yeah. How's fueling different from just say regular running or regular cycling? How's a triathlon fueling different from these individual sports?
See, triathlon fueling plays a very essential role purely because the time of the day you race and the conditions you race in. I mean, if you're lucky, you go in European or the American conditions where it's colder. But most of us, to start with, we promote all the Southeast Asian countries. Of course, it's cheaper to travel, easy to travel. Visa is not an issue, so people travel there, and they're most of the time hot and humid conditions. So over there, the amount of sweat you do, I mean, the amount of sweating and the amount of calories you burn, you need to educate them to fuel at the right time. When you're swimming, you're of course there, you can't fuel yourself for the obvious reasons. So you need to understand pre-race so that you do a good swim when you come out. And races, when you saddle, you're doing at depending on the race you choose, either it's a rolling hill or a climb or a flat course. You are understanding that your body is losing a lot of calories. Your body is putting a lot of different kind of efforts when you're on the saddle, different power zones you're training in. And if you're not fueling up and you're providing the right calories to your body, the energy system will collapse after good about 4.5 hours. Then you're totally talking about your pure gut. Totally depending on, you finish your race, you have the energy, but you're not able to push yourself. I mean, you're an ultra athlete, you understand, that unless you fuel yourself well and you are putting in the right amount of calories and the right amount along with the right kind of product, which goes with your gut, which goes with what you've practiced for. And that's how your energy system will start working on.
And at the right time, like
at the right time, absolutely. Yeah. So, when you are on the saddle, taking that sip and finishing about 750 to about a liter of isotonic drink every hour plays an important role, because it's not just about forcing, it has to be a part of your habit. Unless you start putting your hand down, taking that bottle out of the cage and sip that, you will not do it on the race day. So that has to be put in practice in the training. I mean, we keep on emphasizing your race is simply what you do in your trainings. What you practice, how you practice, what you do is how you go race. So you need to understand these nitty-gritty. You need to understand that it is not like a marathon where you are training and you're just standing. And if you're underprepared, by some way or the other, you can push. The amount of time an individual spends, the amount of money individual spends, traveling internationally. Generally, most of the athletes have their families traveling with them, because, Ironman 70.3 is a big aspiration for a lot of people. They want to travel with their family. The amount of cost involved, the amount of emotions involved. And if you're not ready to be there at the start line, feeling ready, then more or less the chances are that you might not able to finish. So, and you don't want to be in that situation. It's not a very pleasant feeling for an athlete. As a coach, it doesn't feel good, but more or less as an athlete, it's pretty challenging.
Yeah, that there is a lot that goes on, into it. So I mean, that explains why a lot of people struggle with not just training, not just racing, but this entire sport. People get into trouble because they're not able to visualize all the challenges that are coming up. It's not just hydration, nutrition, but also when you're getting into it, you have to realize, you have to think about all the aspects involved: money, time, emotions.
Absolutely, and I think that is the difference between if you hire a coach, like we had this discussion earlier. Yeah. When you hire a coach, we just don't train a person by giving him plans. We help him pick up a race, pick up the right race conditions for him. We help him understand how would he travel there. All these guys are first timers. They don't even know how to take their bike over there. Yeah. So help them understand how to take the bike. We teach them as simple as I've taught so many people how to fix a puncture. I have physically done that on my own, because the goal in the end is, again, it's for him to finish well, finish strong. That's an aspiration. It's not just about putting a plan and saying, chalo jaake race kar lo, but we need to get him to closer to his aspiration and say, hey, wow, I'm happy to do that. I mean, I recently trained an individual. He's a very, very senior leader, owns steel mills. And he has more than about 5 to 10,000 employees working for him. He finished Ironman Goa with me, and he came to me and he showed me his medal. I helped him coach and finish his race, and he finished very, very strong. And he came to me and he hugged me and he said, Coach, I'm going to show this to my team members and see the amount of the positivity which I'm going to press around in my mills, in my factories, just this medal. And his goal was just to be an inspiration to his employees. And I think it was fantastic when I heard that. And he was overwhelmed, of course, but it was a very, very pleasant feeling as a coach for me, but that he shared his experience.
Yeah, I think this brings us to a very, very important point, which is they say about Ironman in particular, or triathlons in particular, the full distance triathlons. You should start with why. What's your why? So how do you suggest people figure out their why? How can they define it, uncover it?
Well, I think defining this why comes in the journey. A lot of times people just come to us, they want to do triathlons because they want to do something more, as simple as it gets. Because majority of the times, any triathlete who joins the club, I make sure that I have a conversation with him to understand, for the same reason, like you put across, why do you want to do it? What is driving you? So I've had these conversations with most of my athletes, and I would say majority of the folks would come and say, कुछ करना है coach, क्या करना है, कैसे करना है, नहीं आप बताओ. So the why comes in their whole process in terms of understanding of what they are, doing this for, whom they are doing it for. Is it for themselves, or is it to be an inspiration for their family, inspiration for the team, employees, whatever. Yeah. It's their why. It's not that we can help them achieve. It's just that we make sure they stick to the process. 90% of the time when you reach the finish line, you understand the reason of why you're doing it. And people and when you meet them at the finish line, you understand that, he's found his calling. If he's there, he'll be there.
Yeah, no, that's one way of finding it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to have all the answers always.
Yes.
You just start and you figure certain things out on the journey.
Yeah.
Jatin sir, CrossFit. You're also a CrossFit trainer. So, is CrossFit a sport for everyone? Should everyone pursue it, would you say?
My answer is yes. Not because I'm trained in it, because I believe in it. Now, what we need to understand is that, over years now, CrossFit has been misused, has been not taken in the right way, and has not been driven through the right way. I mean, for example, what does CrossFit teaches you? It teaches you to move better, to move faster. Now, for you and me, we all have to move. Now, who is asking you to move with a 100 kg barbell on your shoulder? The loading and the overloading is something which you have to choose. All the functional movements which you do in a day-to-day life. So what is CrossFit? CrossFit is a mix of strength training, powerlifting, a lot of mobility drills, everything put together. They don't have their own program. It's a nicely curated program which is driven by a coach. A CrossFit class is always driven by a coach, who is a certified L2 coach before he starts taking sessions. That's the ideal case. Now, we have a lot of people who are not certified in doing CrossFit sessions. It's the same thing, you go to a doctor, he has 20 years of experience, and you ask him for a medicine. Of course, his experience, his education will play a role. Somebody who's not certified, who's not qualified, and you ask him for a advice, what will you do? He will just randomly, or with his experience, will give you that, right? Same goes with CrossFit as well. If you are picking up a good coach who knows his job, there are various CrossFit boxes in Gurgaon. There are various functional training boxes or training centers in Gurgaon who have spent enough time doing that. Now, that is where a coach's role come into play. So we've had people who come at the age of 48, 50 doing CrossFit with us now, and we have in the same group a 22-year-old and a 28-year-old doing the same workout. The workout is same. You and I have to move. For example, if I have to do a front squat, you have to do a front squat. Is it necessary for us? Yes, it is. That's what we do every day. We sit and stand every day, right? So we have to squat every day. Now, who is asking to that lady to pick up a heavy weight to do that squat? She can take anything that challenges her. Now, that could be a PVC pipe. That could be as simple as 2 water bottles, because we are teaching them to move. We are not compulsory telling them to pick up heavy loads.
Move and progressively overload.
Progressively overload. Thank you for putting that word. It's progressively overload. People come to us and so over time, how we train also, we don't put all the bunch in one group. We've got a group which we call the Bootcamp Yellow Flow Group. Now, what does that flow means? We teach them to move. We teach them body weight movement. We slowly and gradually start them with abstract weights. Could be a 2 kg dumbbell, could be a med ball of 6 kgs. And then once they've spent good time of 3 to 6 months where they've understood the movement patterns, they've understood the meaning of push, understood the meaning of pull, understood the meaning of, squatting deep, that's where we start loading them into a different group altogether. So, it is not just that the CrossFit is bad for you. The way it is taught, the way it is handled, the way it is dealt is what is important, what we need to understand. So, if in the end of the day, if you ask me that question, I would say absolutely. It is important for everybody.
It just has to be done in the right way.
It just has to be done in the right way. Absolutely.
So, getting towards the end of the podcast, let us talk about your personal journey as an athlete. When you did your first Ironman, now you've done 4. When you did your first one, what was the journey like? So, in the entire journey, there are different moments, right? You start off on a high, and then you experience a slump, and then you pick yourself up, and then there's a moment, and there are multiple. Or sometimes, depending on how well you're trained, sometimes there are multiple moments wherein that noise in your head tells you to quit. Like, this is it. This is all you had, and you're done with it. आज छोड़ दे, आज सही नहीं है. फिर we'll sign up for the next race and we'll pick it up. When that happens, what do you tell yourself? How do you pick yourself up?
I think this happens in every race. I think before you jump in the water, these thoughts are always in your mind. But the beauty about triathlons, that as soon as you touch the water, it just flips. And then you are just doing the daily routine. But yes, I mean, over time, as you fatigue out, as you're kind of getting into the rhythm, you spend so much hours on the saddle alone. And like endurance is no matter you train in groups, no matter you run with people when you're training, but when you're racing, you're all by yourself. So you're on that saddle all by yourself for good 2.5, 3 hours. So a lot of thoughts go in your head. And that is the time when you really start thinking, कि मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ? Why am I torturing myself? So all these thoughts keep on coming. I don't think there could be any athlete at whatever level, whether he's a professional, whether he's an amateur, whether he's a recreational triathlete, everybody would go through this thought process. Yeah, and that's where you need to believe in your process, believe in the training, believe in the hours you spend over months in doing what you're doing, in believing in the passion you have for this sport. And it'll automatically come to you. Yeah, I mean, of course, once you're off the saddle and when you take those first few steps, there's a lot of uncertainty which comes in your head. No matter whether it's your first or your fourth or your fifth, it always comes. But once you've taken a few steps, once your blood starts flowing in your legs, you're in the routine. And then you know that nobody's going to stop you. So you're going to go in and give your best. So yeah, I mean, those are these moments which are always making you stronger as an athlete, physically and mentally, yes.
Yeah. No, I guess we're all beating our own, this devil that's in our head, that plays in our heads when we're doing these endurance events. Every time we beat that noise in our head, it's a victory, right? And that's what makes us stronger when we deal with it.
Absolutely. And I think this is something which I heard. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there are some very senior coaches based out of the US, which I love listening to. So there was a podcast I was listening to, and it was a very I would say an easy way. He said, whenever this thought comes in your mind, eat something. I've kind of stuck by that
interesting
little thing, and you wouldn't believe it works. They always say that if you are having these thoughts, means you're low in glycogen, your sugar levels are dropping, eat something. Divert your attention, give some sugar in your blood, you'll be all right. And it has worked. And I give this advice to all my athletes. And it works. It wonders. Whenever I get this thought, if I'm on the saddle, I'll pop in an energy bar and I'll start chewing, or I'll take a date, or I'll eat a gel, whatever. I'll just divert. And it somehow just distracts me.
I can imagine this working. Firstly, it distracts you,
yes.
Right? And then, of course, if the thought was because of low energy, then of course that glycogen going in does the job.
For simple thing, just keep on duplicating what works.
Yeah.
So I've never gone back and given it a thought again. So
great, sir. So the podcast is called Find Your Ultra.
Yeah.
So what's your version of Ultra life, and how do you go about finding it, and what's your advice for people who are going about finding their Ultra?
I think for me, finding an Ultra is always to do what you believe in and what you love doing. Don't do anything because of any kind of peer pressure. If you don't enjoy running, don't do it. Nobody's stopping. Just because we are triathletes and you're a runner, we are talking about this, that means you have to go run. If running doesn't give you, if your ultra is doing something different, could be cycling, could be strength training, could be as simple as doing yoga, anything. But just follow something which you believe in and you enjoy. In the end, if you don't enjoy it, and if you are doing it because for XYZ reason, you'll not sustain it. It'll not become your habit ever. So do something which is sustainable, which you enjoy, and just keep on doing it.
I am a long distance runner.
Yeah.
I want to become an Ironman, but I hate cycling.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Find yourself a relay team. Do the running part, do the swimming part, find a cyclist.
That's one way.
No, we're promoting this quite a lot now because what has happened is, what we've seen in Goa this year is that we took about 3 teams, but we saw that, a lot of people were stepping out with the same thought process that, I want to taste the flavor of a triathlon. So I don't want to do all the 3. Can I spend time on doing one? Get the energies and get to understand how it is. So out of the 9 people who went, I was one of the relay team members. I did the swimming part in Goa this year. I didn't do the whole triathlon. I had just recently done Western Sydney, so I was kind of on my recovery period, so I did a swim only. But what people understood from that was that we have a cyclist a lady who's now getting into running and who's going to start swimming now. So she's now already looking to do a 70.3 Goa next year. So we see these stories coming out where people want to... It's infectious, and the energy is beautiful. It's amazing. And the load which you, like we were talking earlier, the load which triathlon puts on your body compared to running training is very different. I find it much easier, because it's always doing different skill. Mentally, it's very, very, I would say, interesting. It keeps you engaged than just going and running.
No, I guess easier is also relative. So, like, because you're used to all 3 sports, you probably find that easier. But someone like me who does not enjoy cycling, will find it very challenging. In fact, I have done half Iron distances in training, and I find them much more challenging than let's say 100K run.
No, I totally agree. It is physically demanding. Mentally, it needs you to be in the game for you to be pushed. But if you are in the game, and like I said, if you like it, if you're interested in the whole thing, and if you're passionate about it, it'll come.
You'll find a way.
Yeah, you'll find a way. So so again, coming back to your thing, just be consistent, find something what you love, and just do it. As simple as it gets.
Just before we go, tell these people where they can find you.
You can follow me on Instagram, Jatin_Arora77. You can follow us on Bootcamp Yellow, same website, same Instagram handle. If you want to know anything about triathlons, Tri Club Gurgaon is our Insta handle. You can feel free to ping me one-on-one on Instagram. I'll be more than happy to get on a call and help you understand what it takes for you to get into triathlons. Don't worry, I'm not going to charge anything you for that, but just ping me. I'll be more than happy to help you do it, to understand, to get going with it. And if it's there, just feel free to connect. I'll be more than happy to help.
Jatin sir, it's been an inspiring conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Vipin. It's a pleasure to have you here, and thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us till the end. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please consider subscribing and sharing it with your friends and family. So do look forward to the 1st and the 15th of every month. See you in the next episode, and until then, my friends, keep working on finding your ultra.